systems that you'll see and hear today, and we have a demonstration area that you'll see in just a moment, a little bit later today. Some of those are public, but just overall the briefing that we're providing today as it relates to both our new AMD Ryzen Pro mobile and desktop APU products, as well as some of the updates on AMD EPYC data center processors that you'll hear today. So our agenda is going to be a fantastic morning and early afternoon together. We're going to start off with Jim Anderson, more on Jim in a moment, as he'll take you through AMD's vision and our leadership in the high-performance computing market. We'll then hear from Kevin Lensing, who will give you that close-up view to what's happening with our new Ryzen Pro products for desktop, laptop systems, enterprise, SMB. Then very excited to have Microsoft joining us, and then followed by our OEM partners. Kevin is going to do more of an introduction for each of our partners. I don't want to get out ahead of myself here and leave Kevin a chance to give you a sense of why we're so excited to have Microsoft, Dell, HP, Lenovo all joining us today. We'll then have a break, give you guys a chance to do some email, get some refreshments, and then we'll come back up and we'll dive into the workstation market and the realm of Ryzen Threadripper, which is fun to say. Everybody want to say Threadripper? Threadripper, okay. Fun to say Threadripper. So David McAfee will give us that update. Then we will move straight into the data center with Scott Ayler. Scott will be joined by VMware, so an additional special guest that we'll have today. Then Nick Pander will take us into the world of pro graphics, both data center and workstation. Then Jim will come back, give us some closing remarks. We'll have lunch, and then we'll have our breakout sessions that again are on the other side of this ground floor of the new AMD Santa Clara campus. Sound good? Okay, excellent. All right, so with that, what I'll do is transition into introducing Jim Anderson, who I've had the great pleasure of working with very closely over the last couple of years, all around the world, meeting with many of you at different launch events that we've done together. And just the business and the momentum that we see in computing and graphics. You guys write about this, and you do your research papers on this. It's just pretty astonishing, the level of competitiveness, the rate and pace of innovation that we're driving at AMD. You feel it, I think the industry feels it, and Jim has been a central figure in his leadership in making that happen. So before we bring Jim up to the stage, I thought we'd just spend a couple minutes looking back at what Jim and the AMD team have been up to, and then we'll welcome Jim to the stage. So let's take a look.
I am extremely proud of what we've been able to deliver to the marketplace in 2017. The time for Ryzen has arrived. The Ryzen 7 1700X.
Ryzen 5, Ryzen 3, Ryzen 7 Pro.
With EPYC and Instinct, we're bringing a new era to the data center.
Radeon Vega graphics, Radeon Pro WX 9100, Radeon Pro SSG.
This is Ryzen Threadripper.
This is Ryzen Mobile.
Vega Mobile Discrete GPU.
We're introducing the Ryzen 2nd generation high-performance CPU.
We are not taking our foot off the gas.
The best only gets better in 2018.
All right, welcome everybody. Actually, just like JT, I love saying Threadripper too. I say this many times as I can. It's my favorite product. So, hey, great to be with you all here today. I want to say, big hearty welcome. Welcome to the press, the analysts, especially to our customers, our partners. We really appreciate having you here today. And great to have you here at our new Santa Clara headquarters. What do you think of our new building? Those are just the AMD employees clapping, actually. They're happy with the new building because as much as we love the old AMD White House, I think that's almost an icon, that old building. We were having some, honestly, we were having some plumbing issues, some tech issues. When the ceilings start to leak, it's time for a new building. So we're really happy to be in this new location, happy to share that with you here today. By the way, we did bring our most important asset from the old building to the new building. This is very important because it's been I think it's been part of our lucky charm, and that is the Jerry Sanders statue. That is out, and I'm not kidding, it's out in the entryway. The Jerry Sanders bust and statue. You should get your picture taken with it on the way out. You can rub the head for good luck. But we're really happy to have that in the entryway as well. He's certainly, of course, our founder. Then for the press and analysts, I want to mention one other thing about our new building, the location. Silicon Valley traffic can be a real bear. As you've noticed, we are now conveniently located across the street from our biggest competitor. So for the press and analysts, we've made it very easy for you to go back and forth between the two competitors. Anyway, thanks again for being with us here today. We really appreciate you spending time. So you're going to hear a lot about products and features and performance and roadmaps from all of the different team members here today. But if you think about it, at the core of our message, the most fundamental part of our message is all around high performance computing. High performance computing is in our DNA, it is in the core of what we do on a day-to-day basis. It is really what AMD employees, all 8,000 plus employees, are passionate about. It's why we get up in the morning. Because high performance computing, whether it's in a laptop, a desktop, a server, in a discrete graphics card, it drives experiences, it drives our home life, our work life, it transforms how we live, how we work, how we play. And that's why we're so passionate about it. That's why we are dedicated to innovation in high performance computing for both CPU and GPU. And I think we all have personal experiences in our lives of how high performance computing has kind of changed our life or changed our experience either at home or at work. Just to share a little bit of an example from my life, I have an 11-year-old son who's very into his computer, both programming and then probably spending too much time actually gaming. But we built our own Ryzen-based desktop system last year when the first generation came out, and we just came out with second generation Ryzen desktop processors. So we were upgrading his system, replacing the processor, that sort of thing, doing this on a Sunday afternoon. And when we got done with that, I was watching him start to do a little bit of programming, playing some games on that system. And I was thinking about my first home computer and how different it is. My first home computer, actually I was about the same age as him. I was 10 years old. My first computer was the TI 99-4A. Is there anybody in? Oh wow, I get some claps for that. Yeah, that was actually a great system. There's at least 3 other geeks in the audience here. Thank you for supporting me in that. But that system was a great home computer, but it had, of course, only one core. 3 megahertz frequency, which at the time I thought was incredible. 16K of RAM, and I spent hours and hours programming that thing. And now I look at my son's computer, and it's like, relative to that, it's like a supercomputer. This kid has a computer, 8 core, 16 threads, 16 gigabyte of RAM, boost frequencies up to 4.3. That's really incredible. And that's what he can accomplish on that machine is just outstanding. It's not, and that's been a few years span since I was a kid. But even in the last couple of years, the amount of improvement that we've driven in high performance computing just in the PCs is really phenomenal. When we introduced Ryzen into the market, the first dual core or the first desktop processors, when we brought those out in the case of Ryzen 7 and 5, we brought sometimes up to 70% more multi-threaded performance to the market. Again, really driving high performance computing in all form factors, whether it's servers, desktops, laptops, and that's what you really hear from us today. And certainly commercial and enterprise computing are certainly drivers of high performance computing, whether it's big data analytics, whether it's VR and AR engineers using VR and AR to do modeling of their products before they have to commit it to a design, machine intelligence, machine learning, lots of examples of high performance computing and the need for high performance computing moving forward. So as I said, that is at the core of our mission. And certainly 2017 was an incredible, pivotal example of that. In 2017, we introduced 3 big new product generations, really significant to both us and I think to the industry as well. EPYC, our first server processors based on the Zen microarchitecture core, those brought just a new level of not just compute cores and threads and performance, but I/O capacity, memory capacity, really resetting a new bar, a new benchmark in performance in a 1-socket and 2-socket server. And then Radeon Vega brought AMD back to competing in high-performance graphics for either gaming, workstation applications, but now artificial intelligence, machine learning, machine intelligence. And then finally, Ryzen as well. Ryzen brought Zen architecture to both notebooks as well as desktops, and it's been just a little over a year since Ryzen's been in market. And again, here we reset the benchmark, we reset what is the right performance level at each one of the price points that we introduced Ryzen. In fact, at every price point we introduced a Ryzen processor, we brought significantly more performance to the end user, sometimes up to 70% more performance. So 2017 was a big year for us, but I'm actually even more excited about this year and what we have in store for us moving forward. And I'll talk a little bit later in the day about our roadmaps moving forward as well. But you know, we're seeing high performance computing now, the applicability of that expanding beyond just the traditional core markets that AMD has been engaged in, things like PCs and servers and gaming consoles and discrete graphics, which are of course incredibly important for us and drive our focus for driving innovation. But we're seeing high performance computing now expand its usage into things like embedded applications, into automotive applications, machine intelligence, machine learning. We think that for the company, our high performance computing capability across both CPU and GPU, actually that's about a over $75 billion opportunity for the company over the coming years. So really an incredible array of new markets that are really can make use of that high performance computing capability. And as a company, we've been doing, frankly, much better over the last couple of years. Really good, solid revenue growth, top line growth. And I want to thank our customers here today for helping support us in that and helping drive our top line. Actually, last year, 2017, we added $1 billion of new revenue to AMD's top line. And that's a big deal because it helped bring us back to profitability. And it's not just a big deal for AMD, but it's important for the industry. It's actually one of the reasons I joined AMD. I joined about 3 years ago, and I joined partially because I believed that having a strong, competitive, and innovative AMD was important for the industry. It helps drive innovation, competition. It helps drive innovation of the guys across the street. But ultimately, it is good for the end user. The end user benefits, whether that's a corporate end user or an at-home end user, that's the end beneficiary of a strong, healthy, growing, successful AMD. And this is, for us, this is just a start. Those products that I talked about that we introduced last year, those are just really beginning to ramp. We're expecting to grow much more in 2018 and the following years as well. So obviously one of the big drivers of that growth last year, this year, and looking forward as well is Ryzen. And we're really proud of the momentum we built around the Ryzen processor. We brought out Ryzen just a little over a year ago. It's just a little over our 1-year anniversary. We've already brought out our 2nd generation of Ryzen desktop processors to the market, and we've built significant momentum in the marketplace. But we also established a lot of industry firsts with the Ryzen processor. We brought out the first 8-core processors in performance desktop for both commercial and consumer customers. We brought to market the first 16-core processor to the market for very high-end desktop, high-performance desktop, and workstation applications. We brought the world's highest performance notebook processor for thin and light notebooks in a 15-watt TDP envelope with the combination of our Zen cores and Vega integrated into a single piece of SoC silicon. And so we've had a lot of industry firsts over just the first 12 months of Ryzen, and you can see that now showing up in our share and our financial results too. So within the first 6 months of introducing the first desktop Ryzen processors, we had already gained 40 to 50% market share at key strategic retailers like Newegg, like Amazon, like Mindfactory in Germany, like JD.com in China, 40 to 50% share against Core i7, i5. So really good initial adoption. We're continuing to ramp Ryzen. The most recent statistic is just our most recent quarter. In Q1 of this year, just this past quarter, we actually doubled the amount of Ryzen processors that we shipped into the market versus the prior quarter, as we're now ramping with our OEM customers, ramping Ryzen mobile consumer systems. So really excited about the Ryzen progress. Today is a big milestone for us as well, because today marks the launch of the Ryzen Pro mobile processor into the market. And this is, of course, for commercial, for our enterprise and government customers. Very important launch for us, because it brings that Ryzen performance that we've already brought to the consumer market, that industry-leading performance for thin and light notebooks, now brings it to our enterprise and government customers. It adds the great features and capabilities that we add to the Pro version that are important to our commercial customers. And this is now available now in multiple systems. Most importantly today, you'll hear from our customers, and I want to say just a really deep, heartfelt thank you to Dell, Lenovo, and HP. You'll hear directly from them later today for the great partnership and support behind this product. But I think, as you'll see, this will be the widest range, widest selection of AMD-based commercial notebooks that we've ever seen in the company's history. And I think that's, again, a testament to the strength of the product. The Zen core, the Vega core integrated into a single SoC. Just a fantastic level of performance that we're delivering in these laptops. But again, thank you to our customers for being with us here today. Thank you also to Microsoft. Microsoft will also be talking today about how they're supporting Ryzen overall and Ryzen Pro. So, very important launch for us today. We're very excited about that, but we are definitely not done for the year. Actually, I've been on the road almost, it seems like every week this year launching products. We are not done. We are going to continue to launch new products into the market. In fact, we will launch more Ryzen versions this year than we did last year, and we launched 20 versions last year. And we've got at least 2 good product launches left for the second half of this year for commercial customers. We'll launch our 2nd generation Ryzen Desktop Pro processor for commercial desktop customers. That'll be in the second half of this year. It'll be based on our new 12 nanometer process node technology, Zen Plus core. It'll significantly increase performance, so that'll be for commercial customers second half. And then my personal favorite, and I'm not shy about saying this is my favorite product, is we will bring the 2nd generation of Ryzen Threadripper to market. So the 1st generation has barely been out a year, actually. We launched it in August of last year, and it really shook up the very highest performance segment of the desktop industry. It demonstrated that AMD could not only compete, but could lead in that segment, lead the market, lead in performance in that segment. And that was important for both consumer customers, but we're also seeing great adoption in workstations now. And we're very excited about bringing out the 2nd generation. So I'm happy to announce here for the first time today that we've already started sampling this to our key partners and customers. So samples are already out at our partners. This will be based as well on our 12 nanometer process technology. So that'll be the 2nd or 3rd version of new products that we're bringing out on 12 nanometer process technology. It'll have better boost algorithms and some other goodies as well that we will talk about later. We'll probably share a little bit more details about that at Computex, but really excited about this product. By the way, this is the one I use at home. I mentioned my son earlier. He gets the Ryzen 7 system. I get the Threadripper system. I also get the liquid-cooled Vega graphics card too. Which, speaking of Vega graphics, so we have great momentum on Radeon as well. So great momentum on Ryzen, but Radeon too. In fact, that $1 billion of sales growth that the company saw last year was really attributed to these 2 product lines, Ryzen and Radeon. Great revenue growth in Radeon last year. So we introduced Vega, our new graphics architecture last year, and brought 10 new versions, 10 new GPUs based on Vega to market over the end of last year. And specific versions tailored for gaming, of course, one of our big markets, gaming, workstation versions, as well as new versions for artificial intelligence, for data center processing, machine learning, machine intelligence. The other thing that we've been working on and investing very, very heavily on is the software. The software for the gaming versions, which is the Adrenaline version, Radeon Adrenaline, investing much more in that software to ensure that the first day you download that brand new AAA title and you're running that on a Radeon card, Adrenaline makes sure that that is a great experience right out of the box first day. And in addition to that, we've also been building out our platform, our Radeon Open Compute, which is our software platform, open platform for artificial intelligence processing, machine learning, machine intelligence in the data center. Really excited about that. We've seen a lot of great adoption from the ecosystem over the past year on that. And you can see the momentum of Radeon, again, showing up in the sales numbers, in the financial numbers, in the market share numbers. Just one example, we gained 10% revenue share year on year in Radeon versus NVIDIA. That is very significant share growth on a year-over-year basis. So great progress in Radeon. You'll hear more from Nick Pander later today. He'll talk more about Radeon and workstation and data center applications. And then finally, a couple words about EPYC momentum as well. We're really proud of the EPYC processor. This really changed, we believe, one socket and two socket performance capabilities. We not only brought more cores and more threads to the market, we brought dramatically more memory capacity, I/O capacity, and that really changes the way that you can use a one socket or a two socket server. So we're really excited about this, seeing great initial adoption. We've set world records in terms of server performance, has set new world records, and seen great adoption from our customers. You can now see EPYC-based server systems from Dell, from HP in market, Supermicro, Cray. We've also got great adoption from the hyperscale data center customers, folks like Baidu, Microsoft Azure, Tencent, etc. So really good progress on this. Scott Ehler will come up later today and talk more about the progress we're seeing on EPYC and some of the future products. And just again, one stat on the progress we're making. In this most recent quarter, we doubled again the unit shipments sequentially from Q4 to Q1 on EPYC unit shipments. So again, really good progress across this product line as well. So just to wrap up a little bit before I hand it off, what you'll hear from us today is, first of all, you'll hear from us about our belief about how high performance computing really changes the experience, really changes our experience in the home, at work, and the applications for high performance computing. You'll also hear about our dedication to high performance computing and the innovation in high performance computing, again, in both CPU and GPU, and not just in the current product generation, but a multi-generational roadmap, an aggressive beat rate of new products of CPU and GPU technology that we're bringing to market. And finally, and most importantly, and this is the part that I'm looking forward to hearing today, you'll hear from our customers. You'll hear from Dell, HP, and Lenovo, as well as our partner Microsoft, about the AMD technology, about how they're using Ryzen Pro Mobile in their own new product development. So we're really excited about that. Okay, so with that, I want to say thank you one more time for being here with us at our new corporate headquarters. And I want to introduce Kevin Lensing, who will talk more about Ryzen Pro.
Well, that was really impressive. Little known fact, my wonderful boss Jim is extremely jet lagged. I thought he brought a lot of energy there for a guy who got off a plane late last night and didn't sleep last night. So that's the power of great leadership right there, powering through. So hopefully he'll get some well-deserved sleep tonight. So I'm going to talk to you more about the Ryzen Pro product line and about what we're doing across the board in commercial. Thought I'd open up by sort of going back to the slide that Jim showed you earlier about all the wonderful markets and the large opportunity we have at AMD. We do have new markets we can address that are not currently part of our core competency, and those things are wonderful, and we want to go attack those markets. But in spite of all of that, the largest market for AMD remains the PC. From a CPU TAM perspective, the PC market is a $30 billion market. That's huge. So we're very focused there. It's still the biggest opportunity for us. We have a lot of room to grow. And thanks to a lot of you in the audience, our partners, our friends, the ecosystem, we think we can do a lot in this market. If you break that market down a little bit further, and this chart shows sort of a simple breakdown of that $30 billion TAM as a function of time, we've broken it down into what we call the premium segment and the mainstream segment. So the premium is like your performance and high performance enthusiast segments. And what you see is from a revenue perspective on the CPU side, the market, the revenue TAM is heavily indexed toward the premium market. And frankly, before the advent of Ryzen, AMD was not exposed to that. It didn't have access to that really large orange TAM. And furthermore, as we roll out our Ryzen portfolio, really if you think back to 2017, The only part of the market we were really able to address in large scale in 2017 was desktop. If you remember, our mobile products launched in Q4 of last year, so really not ramping until this year. So we are just getting started attacking this high performance TAM. We have a tremendous amount of opportunity as we roll our product line and ramp it in mobile across consumer and commercial. We think we have plenty of room to add another bar much higher to that chart Jim showed you on our revenue quarter on quarter, or year on year, excuse me. So let's talk about where we are with Ryzen just for a second. So again, the focus really in 2017 was on ramping in consumer. We did start the ramp in pro, but really consumer ramps faster, right? That part of the market grows and tends to go along cyclical boundaries that you can ramp a product very fast. Commercial takes a little bit longer, longer acquisition time, stickier business, but a little bit harder to ramp, a little bit longer tail to ramp. So, but on the consumer side, we've seen great success right out of the gates. Really remarkable success in the market that we launched first in. We launched first into the DIY channel, where people buy their own processors, build their own systems, and there our momentum is remarkable. This is the audience that they love PCs. If you're gonna build your own PC or buy a boutique PC from a system builder, you're into PCs. You're probably part of the PC master race. You know what you're doing. And when the guys who know what they're doing, they do their research, they buy Ryzen. We see 40% market share as a pretty nominal baseline for what we see at major e-tails throughout the world. Places like Amazon, Newegg, JD.com in China, where they buy this way and they build their systems. Really, really great success with Ryzen. And then Ryzen Threadripper, Jim already talked about his favorite product. That was a fun product to build, a fun product to be part of. Actually, some of you may know, it was kind of a skunkworks project within AMD, a small team that decided, hey, we can go attack this HEDT market. It was very much a labor of love, very over the top in every dimension, from the core count, to the packaging, to the way we brought it to market, to the name. So really made a name for Ryzen, not just as a new product in the performance segment, but showing that AMD can win in that halo space, where we can create the momentum in the market that says AMD can build the best desktop product on the planet. And then we launched mobile. I want to talk a little bit more about mobile here and dive into it, because we have momentum building in mobile that right now for this audience you haven't seen, but we know is coming. We have a tremendous number of OEM platforms that are about to launch or just launching for the back to school season. So you're going to see a big ramp from AMD Ryzen products. The thing we're most grateful about from our OEM partners is across the board with every major OEM, we are penetrating the new premium segments for each of those OEMs. So across the board, whether you talk about HP, Envy Systems, or Dell moving up from the 5000 to the 7000 series in Inspiron, or with Lenovo moving into the 700 series of their lineup. In every case, because of the strength of Ryzen, we're being invited to participate in new parts of the notebook TAM that we weren't in before. So think back to that TAM chart. The way you get access to that $20 billion of premium TAM is you have to be in these premium designs. We're really grateful that we are, and I think it shows the strength of the Ryzen product line. But just the designs by themselves doesn't get you there. You have to have the partnerships and you have to have the retail pull. So we're proud to say that as one data point for how we're creating pull for Ryzen in retail, you will see as we roll into back to school and into holiday, a 6x increase in the Best Buy Blue Label collection. So that's the collection of premium PCs where they really drive attention and focus, and where Best Buy as a trendsetter and a market maker is in that premium system design. So 6x the number of designs in that space is a huge year-on-year improvement. And then we have our friends from Microsoft here today. Similar story there. Microsoft has what they call their featured PC program, which is they select a very small number of PCs across the ecosystem where they're going to place their investments and their focus as they drive exemplary PC devices through their channels and with their promotional activities. And so we've gone a 7x increase year on year in featured PCs. So the OEMs and our friends across the ecosystem are voting with their designs, they're voting with our shelf slots in retail, and with the promotional activities around AMD's products. So all of this is just to set the stage as I'm talking here to this commercial audience about what we see coming. So the consumer side ramps quick, our momentum is strong. It will help create pull for the Ryzen brand across the consumer ecosystem. But then if you cut that opportunity a different way and you say, hey, of that premium opportunity for AMD, how much of it is commercial and how much of it is consumer? It's actually 50-50. Half of the premium PC TAM is actually commercial TAM. So that is a massive opportunity, and you see how much momentum we already have in consumer. So we're here today to begin that rollout and that momentum and that same story of Ryzen in that very big, over $10 billion opportunity in the premium commercial space. So what do we see in the commercial and happening in commercial workloads and commercial users that we think is relevant to what we're trying to do with Ryzen? So the number one thing is what I call on this slide work-life integration. I think the idea, especially amongst the new generation of millennials, the idea of work-life balance is kind of irrelevant. They're not looking at, oh, I have my work time over here that I have to go and do stuff and get my work done, and then I relieve that and I move over to my home life here. That's not the way it works. The way it works is that home life and work life are increasingly integrated. People are getting their personal things done at work, and they're working at home, and they're working in different places, and they don't just have this PC device that they walk into work, sit down in a traditional office, work on a PC, leave that PC and go home at night and have a different set of products that they use in their home life. It is one device, it is one life, it is integrated home and life. So a lot of what we wanted to do is not be shy about the fantastic features of Ryzen as it relates to developing beautiful designs, to being able to entertain people, and to do more than just getting work done. Because as work and life blend, and it's about integration, not just balance, you want to bring all the features that make people want to buy a PC in the consumer space, you want to make all that available in the commercial space as well. So as we thought about what we wanted to do with Ryzen Pro, that was a big part of the market that we wanted to serve. And then of course, collaboration is everything in the marketplace. Just, all of us can have your personal examples of how you're able to collaborate with people in a more rich and deep way through video conference and through all the different methods we have that are all enabled by high performance computing. Being able to have the graphics horsepower and the compute horsepower to do remote collaboration with potentially, if you think about future collaboration, we're probably talking about AR and VR coming into the mix, which is another huge exponential raise in the amount of compute that you need. So we see just the natural ways that people interact in a commercial environment, in a work environment, demanding more and more compute. And then of course, workloads are moving towards more compute. So in one domain we talk about, wow, the marketplace for email and web browsing, you don't need all that compute. Well, you do. You need all that compute because the modern workforce is not just doing email and web browsing. The modern workforce, the natural workloads are coming to more cores, more threads, more compute. Video content is everywhere. We are all video editors. We carry around a phone that has the video capability of a $1,000 on-the-shoulder camera of 10 years ago. And we're all editing those videos. And that's high intensity, high workload. Scientific workloads have gone from the domain of the $5,000 workstation to the $500 notebook. With a 4-core, 8-thread Zen processor, you can do your CAD work on your commercial notebook. You don't have to go to your super high-end workstation to get it done. All these trends, all these, the way that the commercial workforce is changing leads us directly to what we're trying to do with Ryzen. We're focused on 3 things with Ryzen. Hopefully this looks familiar to you guys. Ryzen Pro, last year we launched it in the desktop space with the first generation CPU. This is the exact same set of value propositions you saw then, and that you will continue to see from us and reinforce from us about what Ryzen Pro stands for. It stands for security and reliability that you must have to succeed in the modern workforce, and then the performance you need to deliver against all of those usage trends that I showed on the previous slide. And the products that we're launching today are all based on this beautiful APU design that you see schematically represented here. This is the Ryzen APU. This is the product that we launched first last October in the consumer mobile space. And what we're very proud of here is 8 months after the first Zen Core product launched, and only 4 months after the first Vega discrete graphics card launched, we brought both of those fundamental IPs together into one incredibly efficient SoC that we call Ryzen with Radeon Vega graphics. So this design is incredibly scalable. We said, hey, we want one APU that can scale from low TDP, ultra-thin notebooks, all the way up to high-performance desktops, and that can span all the needs from a consumer who wants to be a gamer, all the way to a professional worker who needs the most compute and the most productivity, all in one design, scalable across the entire ecosystem. So specifically today, we're announcing 7 products. They're all variants of the Ryzen APU. I'll start first with mobile. We have the Ryzen 3, 5, and 7, so it's the segmentation you're used to from us. So you see the specs here. All of them are 4-core devices, starting with a 4-core 4-thread Ryzen 3, and then a 4-core 8-thread Ryzen 5 and 7 with increasing amounts of frequency and increasing CU count. So we don't just scale the compute on the CPU side as you drive up the stack, we also scale up the number of compute units on the graphics side from 6 to 8 to 10. And this looks a lot like, it's heavy reuse in terms of specs from our consumer lineup, but as you'll see in a minute, we layer into these products all of the security and reliability assurances that you need to deliver the best possible product for the commercial market. Switching over to the desktop side. So again, built off that same APU design, the same fundamental die, we build out an increasing performance spectrum on the desktop side. So we're launching 2 35-watt products, and when you're able to go out in the demo area, you'll see some of the really cool new sort of 1-liter type commercial boxes that are really growing in their market acceptance and TAM, and that's what those 35-watt processors are for. So you're able to get a high-performance desktop processor in a desktop socket with that easy replaceability and upgradability, all in a beautiful, very slim mini form factor for the commercial space. So that's where we focus the 35-watt products. And then the 65-watt products, where we max out the frequency, we max out the capability of this device, are for your mini tower and tower type applications. And the beautiful thing about these products is they all scale and are drop-in compatible with the motherboards that we built and launched with our CPU products, with the Ryzen Pro CPUs that we launched last August, all in that same beautiful AM4 infrastructure, easy for commercial and IT decision makers to build out a platform infrastructure around AM4 and pick and choose whether they want high performance CPUs with discrete graphics or these beautiful, elegant, efficient APUs all on the same motherboard, scalable from 35 watts to 65 watts and across the performance spectrum. So let's talk first about security. Security is a hot topic. Obviously, a lot of things going on in the industry around PC security, especially in the last 6 months. It's been a huge focus for AMD, always has been and always will. So security is fundamental to what we do. Every AMD processor has built into it a secure hardware processor. So not a software algorithm that lays on top of our baseline CPU, but an actual separate little subunit that handles all of our security instructions. We call that our secure processor. It does things like secure boot. It handles and conforms to Windows Enterprise Security Standards and what our partners are trying to do with their own applications. And in some cases with our OEMs, we use this hardware level security to fold into their unique and proprietary security solutions to help augment that and to build out that platform that each OEM builds individually as their own value proposition. Within that security, the thing we're most proud of is what we call our Guard MI. This is our hardware-based security infrastructure for the security at the platform and silicon level. We have something, we don't just secure the processor, the operating system, and your boot up process. We can also secure your memory. So we have TSME, transparent secure memory encryption. This is a unique feature from AMD. We of course have the secure boot that is standard on across the ecosystem, across our commercial infrastructure. And as I mentioned, we have an application base that can fit on top of this secure processor environment and can be augmented to the specific needs of our OEM partners. So as we meet with our friends in the ecosystem and we walk through what our architecture can support, we spend a lot of time trying to find out how to use that architectural underpinnings to make truly value-added solutions and leverage and layer software stacks on top of that secure hardware to build out a truly secure infrastructure for our OEM partners. So secure is number one, reliable is number two. So all of our Pro products carry with them all of the assurances that you need for commercial grade products. First of all, and very important for this marketplace, is we commit to image stability. So very common in the IT environment that you don't want to churn your software stack. And the consumer side, it's kind of the opposite. People want the latest and greatest BIOS and drivers, and they live off of trying to get the best and the greatest and eking out the last bit of performance. The commercial space is actually the opposite. The focus and the value proposition is around the stability of that stack as it's deployed, not to have to intervene and intercept it and update it over and over again. So we commit to 18 months of planned software stability for our Pro stack. We also commit to being stable on the hardware side. So if you commit to an AMD Ryzen Pro product line, we commit to 24 months of availability of that product line. As I mentioned earlier, consumers tends to ramp fast and tail off quickly, whereas commercial has a longer ramp and a longer tail. So making that processor available for longer than the standard time is a big part of what we do. And then we also, for our Ryzen Pro products, to truly differentiate them at the silicon level, we actually bin out our very best silicon into the Pro lineup. So our best yielding silicon goes into Ryzen Pro exclusively, so you get the highest level of reliability. And we back that up by extending the warranty. So because we know we have our best silicon, we're comfortable extending to a 36-month limited warranty and giving you all those assurances that you've got the best product you can get. And then of course, manageability is table stakes. We have a great manageability suite with open standard dash-based implementations. There's no lock-ins. And there's no scalability to any of these solutions, which means that across our entire security and reliability suite, whether you buy our most inexpensive processor to our very best processor, AMD assures you will always get all of our security features, all of our reliability features. You do not have to buy up the stack to get those features. Security and reliability, guys, should not be an upsell. And at AMD, they're not. You get them on every product at every price point. One more thing, just to touch on here, to talk about those assurances that are important for IT decision makers. AMD is often the choice where you're trying to reverse an implementation in a commercial environment. You're switching from an Intel-based infrastructure to an AMD infrastructure. And one of the questions we always get is, yeah, but is it going to be a nightmare if I buy AMD to deploy it into my workforce? Is it going to be difficult and more time-consuming? Is there going to be a switching cost that I have to fight through as an IT manager within a commercial deployment? The answer is no. So this is a simple study we did to show what is the time to deployment of AMD systems versus Intel systems. And we tried to make it side by side, truly the same in every way, and measure the time to deploy. And the good news is time to deploy is about the same, and the steps that it takes and what you have to do to deploy, which is just as important, right? You don't want to have to reinvent the wheel on how you roll these systems out. So time to get it done, steps that it takes, and what you have to do to get it done. Our message is simple to do, looks just like the other guys. You don't need to hesitate to buy the better choice from AMD Ryzen Pro. Okay, now switching over to the performance side. So this is really the fun part. We are silicon manufacturers. We love to create the best, fastest, coolest silicon products, and we're really proud, and this is sort of extending what we said on the consumer launch, where we said we were the fastest processor for ultra-thin notebooks. We are, again, the fastest processor for ultra-thin commercial notebooks. What do we mean by that? We mean when you take the combination of our CPU horsepower and our GPU horsepower together, there is no other processor on the planet that can give you that combined capability in an ultra-thin notebook in a commercial environment. So what is underneath the hood there? 4 cores and 8 threads of Zen CPU horsepower. We're the first ones to get an 8-thread device into the enterprise market. Our competitor, surprisingly, right after we announced our 4-core mobile, they went to 4-core themselves. So that's good for everybody. I think that by AMD upping the ante on the core count and driving, as Jim said, a new cycle of innovation, it puts the guys across the street on their toes. And now, all of a sudden, after 10 years of having dual core in notebooks, now everybody gets quad core, whether you buy AMD or Intel, and that's good for everyone. And that's going to give everybody a better multitasking experience and a better overall experience on their commercial notebook. Very high frequencies, boost frequencies up to 3.8. And of course, we have that beautiful Radeon Vega engine on board with up to 10 compute units of Radeon Vega. And at a baseline level, when you look at productivity, and in this case, we're looking at, I think, PC Mark 10 as our workload, we deliver better overall end-to-end productivity across a range of workloads than the competition. So diving in just a little bit deeper into that performance statement. So one of the things we wanted to do is attack head on the question of baseline productivity for a commercial notebook. So we put together, and if you've come to our events before, or you've been to our demo areas where you see that we've done side-by-side demos, we've had a lot of success building out what we call a productivity script. So what we try to do is build, and really actually we worked on this workload based on telemetry data that we've seen from real industry and commercial workers. What does a day in the life look like of a commercial worker? It's generally a lot of Office 2016 work. Word, PowerPoint, Excel, Internet Explorer, and then we threw in some file compression, very simple workload. You may send and receive zip files, so that's something simple in a workload that's very common and CPU heavy. And then we threw in a little bit of Photoshop. So maybe not everybody's using Photoshop, but it's a good blend of heavy workloads, light workloads. And what we see here as we put our Ryzen 7 Pro and Ryzen 5 Pro mobile solutions head-to-head versus the latest and greatest from Intel, we see neck-and-neck performance. And this is really the baseline of what you need across your commercial deployment. You want this performance level because after you layer in these workloads and what an end user is going to do, you have a lot of additional image load on top of that. When you go through a corporate environment, many of you who are in a corporate environment can attest to the fact that you might have a really fast notebook, you hand it to your IT manager, they load up the corporate image, and somehow it gets slower. I don't know exactly why that happens, but it does. And so what this does is make sure that you're saturating that performance level for your basic usage needs, and no matter what your IT manager layers on top of it, you'll have a great experience. So neck and neck on productivity with the best that our competitor has to offer. Now when you switch over into heavy computational workloads, this is where our processor shines. So when you take the combination of 4-core, 8-thread processor plus Vega graphics, and you look at places where, for instance, you can get some acceleration from those graphics, like in a graphics design workload or a 3D CAD workload, or even just a base 3D rendering that's pure CPU like Pavre. These are the workloads of the future for commercial. Everybody's a graphics designer, as I mentioned now. Everybody's a video editor. And being able to use and manipulate engineering tools is increasingly a normal workload, not something that just sits in an engineering department on a workstation. And across these workloads, we clearly shine. Our implementation of our core actually is more efficient as you pack up cores and threads. So this is head-to-head AMD 4-core 8-thread versus Intel 4-core 8-thread. We're not driving these wins with a core count advantage. We're driving these wins with more efficient use of compute in a notebook environment with the same number of cores and threads and more powerful graphics layered on top. So if you want assurances that your workforce can scale what they're doing today from basic productivity that you saw in the previous slide to really advanced usages, AMD Ryzen Pro is your best choice. And we do all that while staying incredibly efficient. So beautiful 14 nanometer FinFET process, great low leakage transistors, that hyper efficient Zen core that improved its energy efficiency 270% over the previous generation core, a huge number. We can enable, and if you look across our portfolio of designs, which we're going to hear from our wonderful partners in just a moment, we see across that design stable up to 16 hours of battery life measured through Mobile Mark, and then video playback of over 10 hours capability on the Ryzen Pro processor. So you get all that capability, all that horsepower, ability to scale into workstation-like workloads, and you do it at great efficiency and great battery life. So just a word about the desktop processor. So we also, as I mentioned earlier, build out a 35-watt and 65-watt portfolio of desktop APU processors, and you'll see some of the designs that they're in the demo area. The story here, guys, is the same. The story is really great productivity, and if you build out, and this is actually probably even more relevant in a desktop environment. So in a desktop environment, you probably do have a relatively large deployment into engineering and high performance workloads. That's a big reason why commercial users still buy a lot of desktops. That at least compared to consumer users, commercial users still buy a lot of desktops. And here you're going to be doing these bigger workloads. And even without adding a super high-end CPU or a super high-end discrete graphics, you can do things like 3D CAD, medical imaging, graphics design. Here the numbers are huge. especially when they're accelerated by graphics. See medical imaging, 200 to 280% faster on AMD. So as I wrap up, I want to go back to our work-life integration statement. So we didn't pay that off. What I've paid off here for you today so far is why you can do heavy computational workloads, why Ryzen Pro is purpose-built for the future of computing. But what about that work-life integration? So we all know that the content, the usage model on the consumer side that is growing the fastest is, of course, gaming. And you probably don't want to go into your IT decision maker's office and the first statement in your pitch is, this one can game. That's probably not your first statement, but I guarantee you deploy these AMD notebooks and your users take them home and they realize that their commercial notebook that they got can actually play Dota 2, can play League of Legends, can play Fortnite, can play Overwatch. They're actually going to love it. Because work and life, they don't leave that notebook at work when they go home. They use it when they go home. And what we have in this product, as you see from this chart, is our standalone APU with onboard Vega graphics delivers a level of graphics performance equal to Intel's best processor plus an NVIDIA entry-level graphics card on the notebook side. So we have literally built discrete graphics capability into the APU, which delivers these kinds of gaming results. So this is the orange bars are actually a Ryzen 5, so not even our top of the stack, compared to the i7 top of Intel's stack with discrete graphics on board. So we actually deliver better gaming experiences that clear that 30 frames per second sort of minimum bar to a decent experience. We deliver that in our APU by itself. Our competitor can't do it even when they attach discrete graphics. So fun little fact, it's a bonus to AMD. Anything graphics related, anything that people may want to do with their notebooks outside of work, gaming being a big part of it, clear win for AMD. So, wrapping up, we have high performance solutions across desktop and notebook. We are attacking that $20 billion available CPU TAM. We're doing it with great ecosystem and OEM partners that I'm about to introduce. Focus nonstop on security and reliability for commercial assurances. And most importantly, our best portfolio ever, our best partnerships ever, the best commercial OS that has ever been deployed are with us as we go to market. So with that, I would like to introduce that OS partner. I'd like to now introduce from Microsoft, James Howell.
Thank you. James Howell, I'm in our Windows Device and Experiences group at Microsoft, and I'm excited to be here today with AMD as they're announcing and launching the Ryzen Pro processor line. And when I start off and talk about why we think that's important, I want to frame the discussion in Microsoft's updated version of what we're calling our worldview. Microsoft is committed to staying steadfast with our customers and technology partners, but we know that we live in a changing environment, and our worldview and how we look at the market is changing. And the way that we are engineering towards our future is this intelligent cloud, intelligent edge world, where there are billions of intelligent edge devices They can be from computers to cars to phones to great gaming machines like Xbox that's also powered by great AMD technology. That is all connected with this intelligent cloud, intelligent AI. So that, and for me this comes real when I think about our day in a life. I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is check my phone. I use my Outlook phone application on my Android phone to check to see what my day's like. As I'm going into work, I'm using Skype to connect to calls because I'm normally too busy as I'm driving into work. Then as I get into work, I'm using Word, where I'm connecting. I have co-workers across the globe. We're co-editing documents all simultaneously to really be productive and get things done. All the way to the new types of whiteboards that are interactive and in display. And this is all connected with the tissue of an intelligent cloud that knows what I've done on one device. I can pick up the things I've done on my phone. And when I get to my bigger display, I can continue doing those things immediately on my bigger display as soon as I get there. Now, to really make this world work, we need this new innovative technology. I really appreciate what Jim said, like the competition that you get from hardware providers to really push the boundaries on compute, performance, and graphics can really help empower both sides of this intelligent edge and intelligent cloud business. And for us, that has to come on a great foundation. We are super excited with the performance we've had with our partners over this last year with Windows 10. 79% increase in commercial monthly active devices. 79% increase. Highest satisfied OS in our history in the commercial space. Something that we're very proud of. It's not even just commercial. They're talking about gaming. 18% increase in ecosystem revenue in the gaming space. Windows 10 is the platform for gaming. 13.7 billion hours of gameplay this last year on Windows 10. That is where it happens. That brings 200 million monthly active users on Windows 10 in the commercial space every daily, monthly basis, and nearly 700 million in the total Windows ecosystem, using Windows on a daily and monthly basis. That's very close to that billion goal that we set out with just a few years ago when we launched Windows 10. And we also did this with not just one, but 2 launches over the last 2 years, where we brought new, compelling, innovative new features and technologies like 3D, mixed reality, pen. We just announced connecting your phone with your PC and being able to simultaneously see what's happening on your phone, continue right where you left off, voice capabilities, etc. And that has brought the highest satisfied OS we've ever had and great reviews from the press, etc. And as we look towards the future. But none of this can happen on our own. And that's why I'm really excited to come and be here with partners. It takes great ecosystem partners. It takes great technology partners. It takes great fans and customers giving us our feedback as we've been developing inside our program and taking that fan feedback as we engineer. And we thank you for your support, all of those, and our technology partners. Speaking of partners, this last year, we announced some new technology partnerships that some people thought were a little bit outside of the Microsoft norm. Yesterday, we just had the Amazon team up on stage with us as we were demoing Alexa. Some people would have thought 2 years ago that would never happen on a Microsoft stage. We really fundamentally believe in the shift in intelligent edge, intelligent cloud, where Microsoft needs to work and integrate with the systems that are in your pocket and that you're using on a daily basis to provide you that best experience across your daily life. And we are super excited about the partnership with AMD. Windows loves AMD. And when I look at the passion that the AMD team brings, when they came and talked to us the first time about the Ryzen processors, and then the ability to bring Vega and Zen together on a chip, bringing the power of discrete into integrated types of architectures, And then my engineering team testing those and being like, wow, we are seeing a significant lift in total performance capabilities. It really is something that we appreciate, that technology and that coming to our ecosystem. And to bring that to light, I want to talk about this in the lens of commercial. So IT has been being transformed. This is not a new concept, but you have traditional IT. So I heard the comments about, hey, it takes forever once my IT image gets loaded. That is this traditional IT. I remember the first time I came into the commercial space, I was sitting with when I came into the workforce, it took 4 or 5 hours to get myself provisioned, working with an IT pro. I got a device. It wasn't what I'd want to use at home. It's definitely not what I would game on when I would go home. And it wasn't what I would want to use. The new modern IT is simple, easy provision. The way that I provision my latest device, it's actually a device that I personally like and I use and I purchased myself, came into the workplace, signed into Azure Active Directory. With dual factor authentication, I can securely get connected to my workplace and get all of the tools and things I need in a simple, more secure, lower total cost of ownership, and a better experience to the end user. And then I can use that same device, that same experience when I go home. For our ecosystem partnership and how we're working with our partners, we see 3 major ways to go and bring that to life. The first is through powerful, efficient, new modern devices. Ones that I would want to use at work, can give me new compelling experiences to make myself more creative, but with using a pen, talking to my machine, other things like that, that are powerful enough to do the graphics works I want to do at work, give me the battery life on the go, and also the performance of things that I want to do when I'm at home. Then there's modern services. We recently launched the Microsoft 365, which is the best combination of Office, security, and cloud services all combined together to try to bring that intelligent cloud to the things that you do on a daily basis. And then the last for us is this modern classroom, where we are going after a new generation of the next set of people that are going to be sitting in rooms like this by engaging them in the classroom today. But it's not just in the modern workplace. I think it was said a couple times today, every one of us, we're all employed and we're working, we're here at work today. We're all consumers, and we all have a modern life that is completely intertwined with the things we do in our work life. For those, we want those same types of modern devices with new hero experiences that make my life easier. I went on a recent trip, went with some friends, we got a bunch of photos. I can automatically pull in his photos, my photos, and have our cloud AI say, this is the type that we want you to see. I can change it, remix it, edit it, add music to it automatically with a modern cloud that's intelligent cloud connecting the things I do on those hero devices. And as AMD said earlier, we are really committed to bringing these modern devices and putting focused investment so that when somebody goes into a retail space and buys a new product, they come home with something that feels different, is more performant, is more powerful. These are the set of AMD-based featured devices that our 2,000 field teams working with retailers globally have been putting our investment towards. And we are very excited for the ones that will be coming in the commercial space powered by the Ryzen Pro products in the near future. To close, I want to talk about, Windows has been about it hasn't just been doing about good things. There's a lot of good things as Microsoft that we've done, but we are really about doing great things. In order to do great things, it takes great partnerships with great new technologies and great new experiences. And that's why I'm really thankful to be here with AMD and their great work that they're doing to bring those new technologies to market. And thank you.
James, that was fantastic. I just want to state on the record on behalf of all AMDers that AMD loves Windows too. So it is mutual and reciprocal, I promise. Okay, so now we want to start, after that good overlay of the Windows ecosystem, we want to move into the actual devices that we're deploying together between AMD Ryzen Pro and our OEM partners. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Andy Rhodes, Vice President and General Manager of Commercial Mobility Solutions at Dell. Thank you, Andy, for being here.
Thanks. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Great to be here. Great and exciting time to be involved in the end user compute business. And not only because we get to play with such amazing technology and great, faster processing speeds, but I think it's also because this whole notion of the workforce transforming around us gives us a really different perspective on what we as Dell and the industry need to do to go help our customers. And so I remember getting into the workforce 25 years ago, and I know, just pausing, you're probably thinking, how does a guy in his early 30s start work 25 years ago? But when I went to work, it was a physical location. I got in my car, I drove there, and my productivity started the minute that I sort of walked through the door, or actually the minute I got to my desk and sat down and worked. And that is no longer the case today. If you think about the modern workforce and where we're trying to get to, work is no longer a destination. Work is clearly an activity. And that work activity happens in multiple places, not just on the premise that your company owns. It happens at Starbucks, it happens at the home, it happens in the car. And so this whole notion of workforce transformation starts with where it happens. And so we've done comprehensive studies around this at Dell. 60% of people work after business hours. I don't even know what business hours are anymore. I don't think there's such a thing as 9 to 5. 66% of people do some business from home. Well, absolutely, based on that. So this whole notion of the work changing in terms of moving from a destination to an activity. The other really interesting thing from our study that was more surprising was the whole notion of, as people come into the workforce today, they're demanding the best technology. As millennials come in and have been using computers pretty much from birth, whether it's tablets or phones or PCs, they are demanding the best as they move into the workforce. And up to the point that almost half of the people we surveyed said they would quit their job without getting access to that great technology. And why is that? Well, it's really because they know that they can't do work without it. You cannot, in almost every industry today, do what you do without your machines. I look out here, everyone is busy typing. You couldn't do it without it. Engineers can't bring out their drawing board and start using a draft board, a protractor, a pen, and a ruler if they're designing the next jet engine if their workstation goes down. And so there's this absolute imperative of technology and talent and recruiting as we move into what's more of a restrained workforce these days. And then the last thing I'll say is, with all of this happening, what we see is the PC is still the place where that work does get done. And so, phones, tablets, they'll supplement and complement the workforce, but if people are actually doing real work, content creating, they want to be focused on the mission that they're on, they go back time and time again to the PC, whether that's a desktop or a mobile workstation. And so if you think about it in the terms of the IT organization, one size does not fit all anymore. You cannot adopt a single image, a single machine for all the different multiple workers in your environment. And so when we looked at this, we said, hey, how do people actually work? What are they doing, and how do you divide that up for simplicity? And so you've got people that are remote, spend most of their time at home, but occasionally travel. You've got what we call corridor warriors. The whole concept of an office. I haven't had an office, for around 20 years. It's cubicles, or it's team rooms, or it's open spaces. And so what we find is most of our users move from room to room. They're on the go in the office. Desk-centric workers, maybe they spend a little bit more time at their desk. They're in call centers. On-the-go pros. My office today is, I like to say it's usually seat 36B on Southwest because I'm disorganized. But you spend all of your time moving around countries or continents. There is no such thing as an office at all. Creative users, engineers, and field workers. So, the days of IT being able to provide antiquated systems has gone, they have to really understand not just the notebook or the desktop, but the whole ecosystem, including monitors and docking and everything, to ensure that they get this great experience. And that actually helps them in two ways. The first way it helps them is they can provide the true solutions to those users. And so if you're on the Go Pro, what you really care about is battery performance. If you're a corridor warrior, it's about performance. It's about lightweight, so you can move from room to room. If you're an engineer, it's absolute performance and mission criticality. So that's one thing. But the second thing is this really allows them to free up money for workers that need those higher end systems by replacing it with customers, the internal end users that might not need as much performance as others. So we're pretty proud, based on that, to introduce our first commercial Latitude based on Ryzen Pro, which is the 5495. It's a Latitude, which has that commercial brand. It's a 14-inch. And really what that this product is focused on is that corridor warrior. This is someone that really ultimately, the thing they really need that notebook for is productivity. It is their work tool. It's something they use every single day. They're content creators, whether they're project managers, whether they are program manager or marketing executives, they're creating lots and lots of content. And so productivity and time to productivity and time being productive are the most important things in their world. But as was mentioned earlier a couple of times, you know, this whole notion of you take it home, you want to walk into Starbucks, you want to be proud of the system that you carry, and it has to be light enough to be mobile. The beautiful design is another thing that we're focused on, and we'll show you that later on in the breakout sessions. Those are very end user characteristics. And the third thing that we designed for at Dell is what we call trusted by IT. Although the consumerization of these products is prevalent, the end users become more and more important in this whole mission, IT still have to deploy tens, hundreds, thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of these machines. They have to manage life cycles, and of course security is always prevalent. What's also interesting on the IT side is that more and more sustainability is becoming a big factor in a lot of these customers' accounts. You know, they care about the environment, they want to see more and more recycled materials, they want to make sure that we as a community and we as an industry have protected the environment. So we do a lot of things on the Dell side. On sustainability, we use lots of recycled materials, post-consumer plastics, carbon fiber. We've recently announced the recycling of gold into some of our systems as well. But it's really that sort of security, manageability, how do you go and provide that in a reliable fleet that's going over many, many years? Back to productivity. So if I think about productivity, I think about what Jim said earlier, a lot of our customers are using multiple apps. They're constantly multitasking. You know, whether it's their Word documents, PowerPoints, you know, using rich video, they're doing that all at the same time, as well as the notebook is now the conference phone of today. You know, so you're on Skype calls, you're using Slack, you're using Google Hangouts, you're using all of these apps at the same time. You're not closing a set of apps down, you know, and opening others in your workflow. And so performance, even in these corridor warriors, is absolutely critical. You know, and everyone says, well, you know, Microsoft apps have been the same, you know, for a long, long time. Why do you need all of this more performance? And the reality is you need it because of multitasking on the system, and that time to productivity is massively important. When I talk about time to productivity in the commercial world, what I mean is you almost want a phone-like experience. You want to turn it on and you want to be working as quickly as possible. So things like Windows Hello, fingerprint authentication, getting access to your apps as quickly as you can is critical, and we have all of those features in this new product. Beautiful design, carry weight, massively important. And so you can now get all of that performance and power from the Ryzen Pro in our form factor at 3.56 pounds, which is staggering. So as we'll pass these around later on in the breakout sessions, when you think about the use case here, I grab it from my desk, I walk to a different team room, I've usually got my folder, my binder, my phone, and other things. I want to carry it in one hand. And so weight still is massively important in this whole thing. Premium materials. Typically, you're spending 3 years with your laptop in the corporate environment today. And so having something that's robust and allows you to stand up to that environment is critical. So using carbon fiber molded into plastic, using modern materials, making sure that it's as reliable as it possibly can is absolutely key. So speeds and feed specs, we'll talk about that as we go through the breakouts. Very, very proud to be here, happy to be here. We think the workforce is massively transforming. The need for more and more performance is critical, but the need for that in smaller and smaller form factors with the reliability that's sort of trusted by Dell Latitude is the way forward. So thank you very much, I appreciate the time.
Thank you very much, Andy. So again, much like with Microsoft, on behalf of AMD, I'd like to personally thank Andy and his team. Having the first ever Latitude is important for us. I think it's important for everyone, for all OEMs, and for all of our partners, because as the momentum builds for AMD Ryzen Pro across more and more form factors, I think it builds the entire ecosystem around AMD and builds the demand across the customers. So with that, I'd like to bring up our next OEM partner. I'd like to bring up Lorena Cabrera, who's the Vice President of HP Commercial PC Product Management. Thank you very much, Lorena, for being here. Welcome. There you go.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, I'm really excited to be here because we are very bullish on AMD's new Ryzen Pro architecture. And much like Kevin was talking in his presentation about how the capabilities of Ryzen Pro is really going to enable us to enter into more of a premium space with this new architecture, what you're going to hear from me today is about how we're really bringing a new level of premium experience to our HP AMD solutions. So we have 8 platforms that we are going to be announcing between this week and next based on AMD's Ryzen Pro architecture. HP has the broadest AMD portfolio in the industry. And not only is it the broadest portfolio, but I can confidently say that while over the last 15 years, AMD and HP have been working together to bring strong solutions to the market together, this is by far HP's strongest AMD portfolio from an innovation standpoint. I'm going to walk you through some of the highlights today of the portfolio, but I highly encourage you to attend the breakout sessions today where Ann Lai, my notebook leader, and Malik Panja, my desktop leader, can walk you through in great detail the entire portfolio. So we're announcing 3 new desktops, the EliteBook 700 series coming in the mini, small form factor, and tower form factors. We have the EliteBook 700 series, which will come in the 13, 14, and 15-inch form factor, the ProBook 645, and then on the thin client side, the HP MT44. So very broad portfolio. But before I get into any of that, I want to step back and talk for a minute about the HP AMD partnership. As I mentioned, we've been working together for over 15 years. We have a really strong partnership that I see continuing to grow in strength. And one of the reasons I feel like we are such good partners is because the combination of HP's Insights to Innovation engine, that's what we reference as the process we use to really understand the customers, the industry, and make sure we're using those insights to bring very valuable innovation to the market and premium experiences to those customers. And that, coupled with AMD's Ryzen Pro performance and Radeon Vega graphics, that enables us to power the experiences that the modern worker in the office of the future needs. So when I speak about Office of the Future, this is the framework we use to really drive our portfolio planning. We look at work through 3 vectors: the workforce, who's working; the workplace, where do people work; and work styles, how do they work. So when you look at some of the key trends changing in those 3 vectors, first of all, from a workforce standpoint, by 2020, over 50% of the workforce is going to be millennials. And millennials, because they've grown up with technology, they have very high expectations of what they want to use at work. And when employees are happy about the technology they receive, they're going to be a more engaged workforce, and companies more and more are concerned with employee engagement and retention. From a workplace standpoint, Over 2/3 of the people work in multiple locations every day. We don't just go to the office anymore. You might work in a coffee shop, you might work in the backseat of your car when your kid's at a swim meet, you know, in the airport, etc. So we've got to address the fact that people work in many locations. And then work styles, how do people work? And one of the biggest trends changing here is the amount of collaboration we do. About 47% of meetings are virtual, so collaboration is something we do all the time. So based on those insights we really have 3 innovation pillars that drive our portfolio. There's design, the fact that people want nice looking products that they're proud to carry with them. They're no longer content to have a great looking consumer or personal device and then a stodgy looking commercial device. So we put a lot of focus on the design of the products. Security, when you're working in multiple locations, that makes you very vulnerable to different levels of security hacks. So we've built in a very robust security stack, both below the OS, in the OS, and above the OS to give you the freedom to work wherever you want. And then collaboration, we put a big focus on audio and video capabilities to really enhance the collaboration experience. So with that, I do want to start with the first product we're announcing. This is our new EliteBook 700 series. This product is gorgeous, as you can see, and I highly encourage you to look at this more closely in the breakout sessions and out at the demo tables. So not only is this product substantially thinner and lighter than the prior generation, coming in at just over 3 pounds, but it's now made out of this beautiful aluminum design. So it's much sturdier than the prior gen mag design. So in addition to that, we've done a great job of reducing the borders on the display because everyone wants to see just display. And then we've also got the world's first business notebook with the ultra bright display that automatically adapts to varying light conditions. And that's very important when you're working in different locations because depending on where you're working, the lighting conditions can either be really bright all the way to pretty dark. Going to that second pillar of security, while we've got a complete security stack built into these products, one of the features that customers have just really loved and that we're now going to have across the full 700 series is the feature we call SureView. This is our integrated privacy screen that is activated with the touch of the F2 button. What is so awesome about this is no one can see what you're doing if they're sitting next to you once SureView is activated. So if you think about the use case of sitting on an airplane where you're like, oh, can I really work on this confidential document because people are all around me? No one can see what you're doing. So it's a great feature to minimize and truly avoid visual hacking. Another security feature we put in that people love is, I'm sure you've seen, and you might do it yourself, the Post-it note over the webcam. Well, now what we've got is this great privacy shutter. So if you want to use the webcam, you've got it open with a simple slide of the button, you've got it closed. So it's very elegant and makes people feel very secure about using their device. And then from a collaboration standpoint, there's multiple things we've done to this product to really drive a strong collaboration experience. One of the things we've done is put in what we call a world-facing mic on the outside of the unit as well as the one on the inside. And this mic serves 2 purposes. So we know that we all have a lot of calls that we do on these notebooks. Well, if you're doing an individual call on the notebook, you set it to individual mode, and all the people around you, all that noise gets blocked out. So somebody can be crunching a bag of potato chips on the other side of you, and the person you're having the call with will never hear it. You switch to conference mode, and you can be in a small huddle room with several people around you, and it picks up their voices just fine without everyone having to huddle around to the front of the PC. So excellent feature to enhance that collaboration experience. The other thing we've got inside is what we call our collaboration keys, the keys that allow you to start and stop the call or share your desktop just at the touch of a key, and that's supported with Skype and Cisco Jabber both. And then we put a lot of effort into increasing the audio, so we've got much louder speakers, and we've improved the bass roll-off, which gives you a better voice resonance, so a richer collaboration experience. So that's just some highlights on the 700 series. Again, definitely encourage you to check it out in person to learn even more about it. Shifting quickly to desktops, we're building on the announcement we did last fall with AMD, where we're bringing the next gen Ryzen Pro processors to our desktop products. What's exciting about this one now is a few things. Now with the integrated Radeon Vega graphics, we're really able to expand this offering down into the mainstream. We've got an all-new industrial design on these products, much like we did with the notebooks. And you can see we've put a lot of focus, excuse me, into compressing the form factor of these products, because as we know, as the workspace is evolving, space tends to be getting smaller and smaller. And then the one product that drives the ultimate clutter-free workspace is our new Mini. The Mini form factor is by far the most popular and fastest growing desktop category there is. And on this one, what is exciting is that from a performance standpoint, now with the optional AMD discrete graphics, this little Mini can support up to 7 displays. So not only is it great to drive that clean desk by mounting it on the back of your monitor, there are absolutely no performance limitations on this product now. So we think this is going to be a really popular solution for many people. So again, those were just some key highlights of the portfolio. We're really excited about everything we're bringing together, and we are confident that between the innovation features, the stylish design, and the power and performance of the AMD Ryzen Pro and Radeon Vega graphics, that this is going to be just a really successful portfolio. So with that, I want to thank you.
Thank you very much, Lorena. Thank you so much for the broad portfolio and for the partnership through the years. Truly fantastic, so thank you. So last but certainly not least, we have, whoops, went one too far, excuse me. So last but certainly not least, we have our third OEM partner, Lenovo. You'll notice that we went in alphabetical order. There was no other ordering principle. That's just alphabetical. So David, please come up and bring us home here. David Raven, Vice President, Commercial Marketing for Lenovo PC. David, welcome. Thank you. Yeah, you bet.
You scared the crap out of me earlier when we were talking about these commercial devices can be used for gaming. My son is a Fortnite addict already, and I bring home a lot of technology, so I feel like I've lost him forever at this point. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about technology here for the commercial space. I don't need those right now, I'll get those later. It does kind of suck going after Dell and HP though, but it's not bad. It's kind of a, well, it's okay. Because we really are all after the same thing. We're after digital transformation. We're after workforce transformation. We're seeing these trends that people are working very, very differently in the workforce. So what I thought I would do actually is, and both Andy and Lorena talked a lot about some of these themes. I just figured I'd show you some of the stuff that we've been up to in the last 6 to 8 months and how a lot of these new technologies are making their way into the workforce. So for example, smart home and smart office. I mean, I would imagine most people in the room by now have a smart device at home, either powered through Alexa or powered through Google Home. We've got those both, and now we're bringing them into the workforce. AR and VR, I mean, this is not something that in the commercial space we've really been thinking about for some time, but even as people learn to collaborate differently, people on the road, people in the corridor warriors, as Andy called them, we've got devices that we're looking at. How do we bring this into the office space? Of course, our core notebooks, again, thinner, lighter, better designs, powered by AMD. We launched our ThinkPad A series just last year, our first commercial notebook with AMD for enterprise, Ultra Slims, and of course our Legion gaming brand. And then some of the solutions that we're coming up with, again, Andy referenced, how do we turn our PCs into a phone? We actually make phones here. I can toss that across the stage as well. But how do we make a PC that's always on and always connected with a connected standby or far-field microphone technology? How do we service them differently? And of course, then how do we use Cortana and Alexa and put them in a PC device and make that act exactly like that phone that hopefully will work when I turn it on? All right, but let's bring it back a little bit closer to home when it comes to commercial technologies. Again, this is a fiercely competitive marketplace for us. We happen to have leadership right now over the last year in large business, government, education, but it is close, and this is not by any means Lenovo is kind of running away with things, and that's kind of why we like what we see from HP and Dell, because we continue to challenge each other. We also were just recognized a couple of weeks ago with Laptop Magazine's Best Laptop Award for the 2nd year running. Again, it's really close because we're all doing great things together. We just happen to be on top. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the portfolio. I kind of want to dive right into some of the new products that we're going to launch today. Now, our portfolio with AMD continues to expand. It continues to become a more important part of our B2B platform. I bookended here with some Ryzen family products for SMB. We're not going to talk about those today, but we do have those, our ThinkPad E series as well as our Lenovo V series. But today I'm going to talk about 3 products that we're launching and bringing to market in the coming weeks. We'll talk about our latest evolution of ThinkPad, the A series with Ryzen Pro. We'll talk a little bit about our small form factor, the M725S, and then we'll talk about the tiny desktop, the M715Q. So let's just jump right into the desktops first. So I happen to bring a tiny here today. We've actually been making these tinies for about 4 years. First kind of 1 liter full featured desktop. These things can go anywhere. Actually, it's pocket sized. You've got really large pockets. So if you do want to walk around the office, you're a corridor warrior, you can just shove it in your pocket and walk around. I don't recommend it because it'll fall out at some point. But again, this really is built around mobility. Now, again, as you've heard from Jim and Kevin and Andy, Lorena, we've been talking about dash manageability, we've been talking about Radeon, Vega, all that stuff's already been said. Of course, we have it in here. So I really just want to focus on the mobility. Full featured, 1 liter desktop, you can mount it anywhere, and this actually can turn your monitor into an all-in-one that we call the Tiny-in-One. It's a really cool product, you'll see that out in the showcase later today. Sorry, Tom. All right, the M725 small form factor, I don't have that here because it doesn't unfortunately fit in my pocket. The area that I want to focus on with this one is the performance. 8 cores and 16 threads of Ryzen Pro processing power. Now my workstation team doesn't love when I say this, but this is a workstation. This is a small form factor that is powered like a workstation. And of course, you've got the graphical processing that's really going to make you do amazing things with this thing in a small form factor. And of course, it's got the security that you would expect from a Lenovo AMD product, and dash, as we've talked about 19 times already this morning. All right, let me pivot quickly to the notebook space. Now again, our ThinkPad brand has been around for about 25 years. We've sold roughly 126 million ThinkPads in the 25 years that the brand has been around. And last July, August, we launched our ThinkPad A series, our first commercial AMD-based ThinkPad. Now, when we started taking it to customers, and I actually didn't really run this slide by the AMD leadership team, so if this is a shock, I apologize. But I'll be honest, when we brought a commercial AMD product into the marketplace, we had customers saying to us, is it right for my enterprise? And so what I did here is I worked with the team and we captured the 5 kind of leading things that customers were asking us when we started talking to them about a commercial AMD ThinkPad notebook. So first was, battery life is too short. Can you guys really put out a product with a competitive battery life to other folks in the industry? And the answer is universally yes. I say here that Ryzen-based ThinkPads have over 10 hours of battery life. This is kind of out of the gate. We can get to 12, 13, even higher if you configure it properly. Underperformance relative to competition. Again, we heard that from a lot of customers. We don't think you can match performance that we need to run our enterprise. The data would say otherwise. I listed here the Sysmark 2014 SE test, but our ThinkPads with Ryzen Pro, they actually beat competitive notebooks, and you saw some of the data earlier this morning as well, so it's not just me saying it. Some were concerned about manageability and security. Again, we've talked about Dash already today. You've talked about Guard MI. These things are powered by Lenovo AMD technologies. They're going to be managed well. They're going to be secure. What about longevity? Image stability. Will ThinkPads be around next year? Again, I'm going to start repeating a broken record because you heard earlier, these things will be around, right? We launched one last July. We're now going to have our next model that's coming out in the next few weeks. We're already working on the next ThinkPad A series. So we are committed to working with AMD for our customers. And then this one, AMD systems. We think they run too hot. We don't agree with that. In fact, before we put the ThinkPad name on a product, it's got to meet all of the different reliability standards, including temperature and durability that any of our ThinkPads would have. So before I get to the products, I want to kind of stick on that point for a minute because ThinkPads have been known for kind of legendary durability and reliability, and a lot of that just goes into our testing. I was actually in Yokohama just a few weeks ago in Japan where we have all of our testing labs. And so we put together something just to really highlight how much testing goes into these and how the A-series product will benefit. So let's roll that video. at AMD, when we kind of really kind of showed this for first time to them, said, you guys are really rising to the challenge. And I asked them not to ever say that again, because it's friggin' horrible. But I'm sure you guys say that around the office all day long here in your new space, which is beautiful, by the way. So I want to talk very quickly about the A285 and the A485. These are legendary ThinkPads. Just like Andy said, how does a 30-year-old been in the marketplace for 25 years? You know, I'm just north of 80 pounds. And I can, give or take. And actually, this makes me about 3 inches taller, so actually I'm approaching Andy's height now, so hopefully you in the back can see me. But these really are great products to add to the family. So let me just quickly talk you through the two products. A lot of the same features that you heard from the other OEMs in the room here around, let's put style into this. Let's make these things really ultra portable because you're going to be using them differently. Let's make them look really great with premium features. Yep, we're going to do all of that. Think shutter as well for physical security. We know security is hugely important in the notebook space, so everything that we're using in our notebook line, we're putting into this. Of course, AMD's Guard MI as well. This is really for our advanced user, though. Right? This is for all-day computing. We've got docks everywhere on this. In fact, universal docking with Type-C. And of course, it's going to be mobile, less than 3.5 pounds. So again, a really great offering for that kind of mainstream advanced user in your enterprise. And let me just close with this one, actually, which is the A285. Now, if you saw the A275, it was a pretty nice offering, but we needed to do something a little bit different. Our mobile travelers really were looking to be much more mobile. So we took the weight out on this, we made it thinner, it's less than 2.5 pounds now, it truly is mobile. But again, it's got all those great reliability and ruggedness features, I'm gonna break the stage at some point, that we put into all of our mobile products. Again, same level of security, same level of productivity, a really vibrant 12.5-inch HD screen, great for content creation. So that really helps round out the portfolio with our new desktops with Ryzen Pro, the new ThinkPad A series with Ryzen Pro, and then the rest of the SMB commercial portfolio that I talked about earlier. So again, all the trends that we're seeing across the industry around security, around workplace transformation, around beauty, and putting great products, good-looking products in the hands of our end users who are getting more and more finicky, we believe we've done that with these. So again, I want to thank AMD for having us out here, and thank our analyst press, you guys for making all the trip here. We look forward to talking to you later. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, David. Yeah, thank you. I have this vision that David's house just has broken crap all over the floor. He just fires everything around the house everywhere he goes. So thanks so much, David. Thanks to the Lenovo team. Great products. Thank you to all our OEM partners and to Microsoft for coming to support us. Really, the message from us today is Ryzen Pro is, yes, about great technology from AMD, but it's also about the amazing partnerships and the acceptance of that technology into these great portfolios with a fantastic OS to power them. So thank you to all of our partners and friends, and thanks to all of you who came. So with that, I think we're ready for a break. We're going to take 15 minutes, I believe. It is approximately 11:15, is that right? And we're going to get a 15-minute break. Do I have that right? Yeah, okay, so back at 11:30.